Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session on kickstarting your FP&A career. So today we'll try and decode as to why FP&A is becoming so important, why CFOs are making sure that they have the right kind of FP&A teams, and why how FP&A can help you boost your finance career as well. So all these questions we will try and address today. So first of all, thank you for your trust. You've taken out your valuable 60 minutes on a Sunday to spend time with us. So thank you for your trust. Pat yourselves on the back for taking action. You see, a Harvard study says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers, which means that less than 3% of the people are willing to take serious action for their careers. And you will see that 3% of the people are actually leading the world's organization. So the fact that you have taken out your valuable 60 minutes to learn more about FP&A shows a lot that you care about your career. So pat yourselves on the back for taking action. What are we going to cover today? We'll start by understanding what is FP&A, where does FP&A fit into the organization, why is it gaining so much of prominence today? And then we'll also try and understand how does a typical FP&A month look like. When we talk about FP&A, most of the people think it is all about budgeting and forecasting. But we can't be doing budgeting and forecasting for the whole year, right? So that's why we'll try and understand what are some of the key activities in FP&A through this slide on typical FP&A month. And then I'll give you a quick career framework. If you're just getting started in FP&A, how do you build your career? What are some of the essential things that you need to work on? And how can you actually pivot from a accounting or an audit kind of a role to a FP&A role? And we'll also talk about FP&A courses and certifications. What are they? How can they help you? Are they really helpful? All of those questions we will try and address today's session. Okay. All in all, about 60 minutes. So, get rid of all the distraction, focus on today's content. We'll try and make the best use of our 60 minutes. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end so that you can get some time to ask any questions that you might have in your mind about FP&A or your finance career in general. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get started. A little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhaval Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my executive management program from IIM Ahmedabad. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a CFO in India and in the Middle East across various sectors like oil and gas, software, public relations, commodity trading, advertising, and much more. I'm now the co-founder at FP&A Professionals Institute. I've mentored thousands of chartered accountants and finance professionals. Over the last 5 years, I've been an active trainer and a mentor, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like finance, P&A, finance business partnering, finance leadership, CFO coaching, and much more. I've also had the privilege of being part of more than 10 CFO events in the last 12 months, and I've built a vibrant community of more than 200 CFOs in the Middle East here in Dubai. All these events, somewhere I've gone in as a speaker, as a moderator, as a host. It has been an absolute pleasure to connect with these 200 CFOs and maintain that community of elite 200 CFOs in the Middle East. My partner and co-founder, Asif Masani, also has over 15 years of experience, comes with pharma, edtech, and banking background, worked with large brands like Citibank, Pfizer. His last role was FP&A lead at Coursera. He is a known author and a LinkedIn influencer. So you have seen his two best-selling books, From Accounting to FP&A and All About FP&A. If you don't yet have a copy of them, so please go ahead and get a copy right away. He has been my partner. We share the same passion for helping finance professionals upskill in their careers. Asif also had the privilege of talking to top global experts, not just in India or Middle East, but across the globe, and interview them, understand more about FP&A, and include all of those insights in the content and the books that he publishes. In 2024, we came together and we first launched our course in 2022. It's called FP&A Masterclass. And then 2023, end of 2023 is when we actually quit our full-time jobs as a CFO and as an FP&A leader, and we established FP&A Professionals Institute. After that, we have launched many courses and certifications, and we have trained more than 5,000 professionals on various elements in FP&A, specializing in FP&A. Okay, so why bother learning FP&A? Why do you need FP&A at all? Now, let me give you two perspectives. One is the CFO's perspective. We have done umpteen number of CFO surveys, and most of them say one thing. 8 out of 10 CFOs say that it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent, right analytical talent, right talent who can become a business partner, a right finance business partner to the business teams. It's very difficult to find. That's what most of the CFOs keep saying. Now, this is the CFO's angle, right, which is a demand angle. In terms of supply, you can take out any salary survey by popular firms like Michael Page, Robert Half, Kingston Stanley. On an average, you will notice that FP&A roles, whether it is at the analyst level or the manager level or at the leader level, you will see that at least they are earning 15 to 30% more salary than regular finance and accounting roles. Because FP&A enjoys this unique position of working on the performance of the business and at times sitting very close to the CFO's office. That's why it commands a little bit of more higher respect and visibility in the senior management as well. So here's another survey that suggests it's a World Economic Forum report. World Economic Forum report says that accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks are among one of the top 10 fastest declining jobs in the world, which means anything that is rule-based, which is accounting, bookkeeping, is getting automated and will be hit harder by the developments in AI and technology, which means that more analytical roles, business partnering roles, storytelling kind of roles will be gaining more prominence. And that is where most of the finance and accounting world is heading. Okay. Now, where does FP&A fit into the organization? Now, if you can visualize a typical CFO's office, right? There are multiple functions within the CFO's office, right? There is financial reporting, taxes, M&A, treasury, supply chain, AP, AR, GL, whatever, right? Now, each of these roles have specific responsibilities. Like financial reporting or controllership function has a responsibility to publish financial statements on time, making sure that the books are closed, statutory audit, internal audit, tax audit, SOX audit, all these kind of different kind of compliances are taken care of by the financial reporting team. Treasury team has a certain responsibility to make sure that the banking facilities are there, there's adequate cash in the business, your credit lines are secure, your DSO and DPO are maintained and managed in the right way. All of these things are responsibilities of the treasury function. Now, this way, every function is responsible for some of the other important aspects in the CFO's office. Now, amidst all this chaos, somebody needs to keep an eye on the performance of the business. That is where FP&A comes in. The main role of FP&A is to provide the right kind of insights, timely insights to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company so that they can take informed and prudent financial decisions. In this process, you end up working with the CFOs, the business leads, and providing them certain reports, counseling them, coaching them to take certain prudent financial decisions. So that is where FP&A also kind of enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office. Okay. Now, this is where FP&A fits in. Now, that brings us to the question, what is FP&A, right? Management accounting as a concept has been in existence in probably over the last 3-4 decades, right? So what is FP&A? See, with the advent of technology or with the improvements in technology tools and data analytics tools, management accounting has pivoted to become financial planning and analysis. Why? Because finance teams today have access to not just ERP related data, they have access to whole loads of data around finance, operations, sales, supply chain, and number of different kinds of data. So today you need a team which can correlate all these data and provide insights so that we can improve the performance of the business. That is where FP&A, the specialty of FP&A lies in. Do all companies call it FP&A? No. Some companies call it management accounting, commercial finance partner, finance business partnering, whatever the case might be. But deconstruct or try and understand the activities involved in FP&A and then judge whether a role is a FP&A role or no. Okay. Now, so what is FP&A? To simply deconstruct this phrase, financial planning and analysis, to understand this better, we can dissect it into two parts. One is financial planning and the other one is financial analysis. Now, financial planning is the future-looking part of FP&A, where we are talking about activities like building a business plan, budgeting, forecasting, rolling forecasts, planning, short-term forecast, long-range planning. All of these things come under the future-looking function of FP&A. Then comes financial analysis, which is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business. So here's one thing. Ongoing performance of the business, which is where you see activities like variance analysis, building management commentaries, right, feasibility studies, pricing, margin analysis, profitability analysis, different kind of analysis to deconstruct how the business is actually performing. That is what is financial analysis. Now, no matter what kind of a company you go into, small, medium, large, these 4 activities or 3 activities are common across FP&A roles in every company. That is budgeting, forecasting, and under management reporting, you will see variance analysis and profitability analysis. Now, let's spend 1 minute on understanding each of these set of activities. Just give me one. Yeah. Now, what is budgeting? Now, budgeting is an annual exercise carried out by most companies before the start of the financial year. For example, let's say if 2026 is the calendar financial year, then most of the companies would now be busy building their budget, building their annual operating plan for 2026. The end outcome of the budget or the annual operating plan looks pretty much like a P&L statement or an income statement, where you have your projected revenue for the next financial year, different kind of costs, and your operating profit as well. The end outcome is that. But however, if you are working for a large company, then you would be working on different components of the budget. You would be just working on revenue for your department. Somebody else will be working on payroll. Somebody else will be working on costs or supply chain expenses, all of these things. So you may not have full end-to-end visibility of the budget, but it is still important that even if you are working on part of the budget, that is still an FP&A role. That is still a contribution to FP&A or the finance function in the company. So that's what is the budgeting exercise. It is a one-time activity carried out just before the start of the financial year, which is giving us a plan as to, okay, what do we need to achieve in the next financial year. Then comes forecasting. How forecasting is different? Forecasting is analyzing the ongoing performance of the business. For example, let's say 2026 is the financial year, and we have Jan to March actuals. Let's say we are at the end of 31st March 2026. We have Jan to March actuals. So at the end of March, what we will do is we will prepare something called as a 3+9 forecast. Now, what is a 3+9 forecast? It is 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. We don't call it a revised budget. The budget numbers are frozen, approved by the board and uploaded in the system, done. After that, what we track on an ongoing basis is the forecast. It could be on a monthly basis. It could be on a quarterly basis, depending on the size and complexity of your business. If you're in a stable, boring kind of a business, then a quarterly forecast is good enough. But if you're in a highly volatile business, then a monthly forecast is something which you will be required to do. Okay, that is what is a forecast. A classic popular question in all your FP&A interviews is, can you explain the difference between a budget and a forecast? This is the difference. Budget is a one-time activity carried out just before the start of the financial year, which gives us the annual plan or the planned numbers for the next financial year. Whereas forecasting is tracking the ongoing performance of the business, carried out either on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. Okay, I hope you are able to appreciate the difference between budgeting and forecasting. Then comes your management reporting. There could be n number of different kind of reports that you will be preparing depending on where you are in the structure. You could be in a business unit kind of a structure. You could be at the corporate level. You could be at the branch level, regional level. You could be in a global shared services or a capability center based in India, Malaysia, Philippines, wherever, right? Depending on who your stakeholders are, you will be working on different kind of management reports. But these management reports, to produce these management reports, largely you will be carrying out two different kind of activities. One is variance analysis. Variance analysis is comparison between actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current month versus previous month, current quarter versus previous quarter, current year versus previous year, all these kind of different comparisons, and deconstruct the business reasons for these variances and then supply it in your commentary to the business teams. And then comes your profitability analysis. If I tell you that the company's profit is $100 million, and if you are the CFO, you'll not be just happy with it. You'll say you would like to know, okay, where this $100 million is going to come from. So you have to deconstruct this $100 million and say, okay, this is the business unit that is contributing to the profits. These are our top 5 products. These are our top 5 clients. These are our high performing products, low performing products. So you'll have to deconstruct that $100 million into different types of profitability analysis, depending on how your company is structured. Sometimes your company could be structured business unit wise. You'll do business unit wise profitability. Sometimes your companies can be structured branch wise. Take a bank, for example. They're structured branch wise, right? So they will do branch level profitability. Retail company does SKU level profitability, right? Depending on how your company is structured, to deconstruct the performance, to dissect the company performance into various components, you will be carrying out different kinds of profitability analysis. Okay. So no matter what company you go into, these are the 3 broad buckets that you will be working on: budgeting, forecasting, and different kind of management reporting and commentaries. Okay, I hope this gives you an idea of what are the main activities in FP&A. Now, this is not it, right? So typically, okay, let's talk about what does it take for you to be successful in FP&A, and what are some of the core skill sets that are required. Now, there could be dozens of different kind of skill sets that are required for FP&A, but I'm going to only touch upon 4 core skill sets that are absolutely essential for FP&A roles. Which are those 4 core skill sets? First is business acumen. Business acumen is your ability to understand things beyond the spreadsheet, keeping an eye on the competition, keeping an eye on what is happening in your industry, what are the international trends, or comparing comparable companies internationally, what are they doing? All of this is your business understanding. And I'll give you an example. I was working with an advertising agency once, and we were going to pitch for Facebook as our client. So Facebook had come up with a requirement for their advertising mandate in India, and our company was pitching for it. I noticed that generally we had about 15 to 20% net margins on every client that we were operating with. And when we came up with the pricing for Facebook, I saw that the margin was ranging only between 5 to 7%. So I went back to the business team, business head, and said that, boss, I think we need to increase our prices in the bid because we're only making about 5% margin in Facebook. So the business unit head smiled at me and said that, That is the difference between a numbers guy and a business guy. You are evaluating this from only a numbers angle and you're telling me to increase the prices. But I'm looking at it in a different way. Imagine if Facebook is on our client list, how many doors it will open for other technology companies in India. Okay, we could approach an IBM, we could approach a Microsoft, we could approach a Twitter, we could approach so many different kind of companies if just for the fact that Facebook is on our client list. You see, he is evaluating the quantitative aspect of it, but me being a finance guy, my natural inclination is towards he is evaluating the qualitative aspect of it. And me being a finance guy, I'm naturally inclined towards quantitative aspects of it, the numbers aspects of it, right? Now, this is the difference. So that is where you will have to take a holistic view of your business and then advise your business teams. The second absolutely important skill set is analytical skills. Now, what is analytical skills? It is your ability to correlate different kind of numbers and interpret the insights out of it. Now, let me give you an example. If I tell you that the marketing budget of the company is $5 million, in isolation, this $5 million number will not tell you anything. Okay. Now, let me give you some context to it. This $5 million represents 5% of sales, which means if your $100 million is your sales, 5% of it, $5 million is your marketing spend. Okay, fine. This is giving you some level of information, but this is still not an insight. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little bit more context to it. Last 3 years' average marketing spend has been 3% of sales. Now we have the right kind of insight to go back and ask the marketing director, hey, Mr. Marketing Director, the last 3 years average performance has been 3% of sales as our marketing budget. Why are we having 5% this year? Is it one time? Is it seasonal? Is it some rebranding activity that we are carrying out? If not, then why not reduce it to 3%? It is impacting 2% of my net margins. Yeah. You see, in isolation, the number did not tell me anything. But when I started putting in some comparisons, either trends, patterns, correlation with sales, right? Then I started getting a lot of information. Then I started getting the right kind of insights to go back and question the right business teams. That is what is analytical skill. When a number comes to you, when a set of number comes to you, don't look at it in isolation. Try and compare it. Compare it as a percentage. Compare it as a trend. Compare it as a pattern. Is it an exception? Is it a norm? If you ask these kind of questions, you will be able to find a lot of skills, a lot of insights. That is what is analytical skills. That's in a very simplest form. Cross-functional relationships. In your FP&A role, you will be working on different kind of projects. In my career, I have collaborated with business development, HR, tax teams, legal teams, refinery for certain projects, ERP teams for certain implementation projects, various cross-functional teams. And having strong cross-functional relationships will do the job for you every single time. Okay, and I'll give you an example. When I was working with an advertising company, we had about 18 subsidiaries, and there was a central legal team sitting in one of the holding companies. Okay, and every client contract has to be reviewed by the legal team. The standard legal team stat to turn around things was 2 days. Okay, but invariably all my contracts were turned around in 1 day or maximum like a few hours. And why was this happening? Because I maintained great relationship with the legal team. Every time they were in my building, I used to take them out for a coffee or a lunch. I invested in that relationship because I knew that it's going to be critical. So this is just one example. So everywhere, identify your top 5 stakeholders. Who's having real influence on your work? Keep them happy, right? The other example where cross-functional relationships will come in handy is to push for unrealistic deadlines. Many times the business unit head will send an email to my team saying that I need this right away in the next 2 hours. And we are busy with a certain audit or certain kind of a different project or whatever the monthly closing or whatever. Okay. So at that point in time, simply you can pick up a call and say, hey, my team is really busy. Is it okay if I give this to you by tomorrow morning first thing? Right? All these are relational aspects, right? Another classic example in FP&A, you send out the budget template to your sales team. The sales team is busy. They have to give you the sales number, the quantity numbers, and they keep postponing. Right? I'm busy. I'm chasing the quarterly targets. And if they don't send their targets or if they don't send their templates on time, it is you who will be missing your budgeted target. And the roles will not be isolated roles. It will not be roles where you'll sit behind your desk, complete your task and go home. It's always about relationships. So that's where building strong cross-functional relationships become extremely, extremely important. Then comes your IT and data literacy. Many times I get asked the question, if I learn Power BI, will I get an FP&A role? Or if I learn Tableau, will I get an FP&A role? The answer is no. Okay. Tools, whether it is Power BI or any FP&A tool or your Anaplan or JDocs or any of these tools for that matter, are only an aid to your FP&A roles. They are not a substitute for your conceptual understanding. If you don't know profitability analysis, what is the use of having Power BI or Anaplan or JDocs in your knowledge, right? So conceptual clarity comes first, tool comes next. Okay. So don't make yourself tool dependent. Yes, if you see that your company is using Power BI extensively, then of course it is your responsibility to invest in a good 30-40 hour course to learn Power BI. But you do not spend hundreds of hours to learn the tool beforehand. Learn the basics of Power BI, Power Query, SQL, that is good enough. Spend about 8 to 10 hours on each, that is good enough. Every company is using some or the other different kind of tool. You will need to understand the architecture of that tool. Okay. Many people ask me, if I understand Anaplan, if I learn Anaplan, will I get FP&A role? No, less than 1% of the companies globally are using Anaplan. Okay. So don't make yourself tool dependent. Yes, understanding a little bit basic architecture of an FP&A tool is good enough. Okay. So these are the 4 core skill sets that I wanted to stress upon. Now, how does a typical FP&A month look like? Right? This will give you a sneak peek into what does FP&A do on a regular basis. Yes, we talk about budgeting, forecasting, and management reporting. But what do we do? When I show up in the morning at 9 o'clock, what do I do? Right? This is something that will give you a sneak peek into what does the FP&A look like. I'm going to cover this very quickly. So typically, the first week, that is typically, let's say the calendar week, you can say, I close my books on 30th, and the first 7 days, when I talk about week 1, it is usually the first 7 days, right? I work on activities like flash reporting. What is flash reporting? See, there will be a lag between the month-end close, month-end date, and the actual books closure. Some companies close the books on workday 5, workday 6 after the month. But the management is impatient. They can't wait for 5 days to understand the performance of the business. So that is where a flash report comes into play. Flash report goes on the last day of the calendar month, saying that, hey, this is our sales, this is our rough cost and profit. After the monthly close, we will send the detailed reporting back. Okay. The objective of flash reporting is not to be accurate till the last cent or a dollar. The objective of flash report is give you a high level overview that have we met our target or no. That's what the main CEO, CFOs are looking for. If we have not met our target, then what is the margin by which we have not met? If you have met our target, great. That's a good leave. That is what is the objective of a flash report. Then the accounting team takes their own time. You work with the accounts team to help them on certain provisions, certain decisions that you might only be aware of as a finance team. And then they finally close their books. And then comes the entire management reporting pack, all your detailed management reporting packs you prepare and then submit it to various business teams. That's what happens in week 1. Week 2 could be all about updating your forecast cycles, right? Your next forecast, next month forecast, you reach out to business teams, sales teams, test your assumptions that, okay, here was the last month's forecast. Are we still holding the same assumptions or do we need to change something? Are there any changes in pricing, quantity, any new clients have come in? All of these kind of things you will check and update your forecast for the upcoming months. Now, when I'm talking about week 2, this is an average that I'm talking about. In some companies that I've worked with, okay, we used to close the books on day 1, calendar day 1, and calendar day 2 was the forecast submission deadline. In some companies, calendar day 5, calendar day 6 was actually the books close, and calendar day 10 was actually the forecast submission deadline. It really depends on how your company is mature and what kind of tools, what kind of strengths you have in terms of your closing the books of accounts. The sooner you're able to close your books of accounts, the sooner you'll be able to publish your forecasts as well. Okay. Then comes week 3. Week 3 is typically a little bit light for FP&A teams. We do all kinds of ad hoc analysis, projects, automation, any risk and opportunity statement, any kind of feasibility analysis, pricing, supporting the business teams with various kind of ad hoc requests. All of these things we typically park in week 3. And then comes week 4. Week 4, again, you start the preparation for closing. The moment you hit, let's say 25th, 26th of the month, the business leads start getting impatient. Oh, are we meeting the number? What does it look like? Will we meet our numbers this month? So they'll start asking you these questions. So you start preparing for that month close. Okay, many companies have a 25th, let's say if it's a service company. In a service company, you have 25th of the month as your invoicing cutoff. 26th, 27th, you do your accrual cutoff. 28th, 29th, you do your expenses cutoff. And then 30th, you're actually publishing the final report. But if it's a product-based company, think about a retail store. Okay, you cannot stop customers from walking into the store on 26th, right? So it will be a continuous thing. So there you take a point of sale cutoff. What is point of sale cutoff? If you go into a retail store, let's say like a Marks and Spencer, right? And it is 30th of September. Okay, 30th of September, you walk into Marks and Spencer's, you buy a pair of shoes. Okay, and you do that bill. Take that bill. So that bill, okay, is then you swipe your card and that is a point of sale that gets captured. That flows into the ERP. So the ERP system refreshes every now and then. And there you take a cutoff that, okay, on 30th of September, my last sale will close at 9 p.m. After 9 p.m., whatever the sale happens, let's say the store might be open till 11:30. Whatever the sale happens, that is actually taken in the next month. And that point of sale flows into your ERP. And then you take a revenue cutoff and revenue closure. Okay. All of this kind of preparation is required in week 4 for you to get that flash report ready by the end of the month. Okay. I hope this gives you some idea about what the FP&A role is. It's not your typical accounting role. It has nothing to do with your accounting standards, your rule books. It is all about managing the performance of the business. Okay, cool. Now let's do a quick discussion here. Now, here is a scenario. You have joined as an FP&A manager in a new company just 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on how will you approach your job and what steps will you take to understand your role better? I want your responses in the chat box. Take 30 seconds to think about it. You're a new FP&A manager. Type your responses in the chat box. What will you do in the first couple of weeks? How do you familiarize yourself with the role? Type your responses in the chat box. Take 30 seconds to think about it. Type your response in the chat box. Go by your instinct. You don't need to Google or ChatGPT this. Okay, no responses in the chat box yet. What will you do? You have just taken on a role as an FP&A manager. Analyze previous data. Okay, analyze previous data, previous reports. Understand the organization structure, different roles and responsibilities that you have. Right? What are the deliverables that are expected from you? Okay, good point. What else? Understand the P&L structure. Okay, P&L structure and how the company is making money. What are the top 5 revenue sources? What are the top 5 costs? Understand the financial model. Okay, the revenue models, the cost models. Fine. Current financial position. This you will analyze even before joining the company, isn't it? Nobody wants to join a company in trouble. Okay. I'll make relationship with the employees. So who are your stakeholders? Who are your top 5 stakeholders? Who has influence on your role? And then you start building relationship with them. What kind of reports do they expect? What kind of data are you dependent on them for collecting the data? These are the kind of things that you'll be working on. Now, let me give you a quick framework. All the answers are right that you mentioned are right. Let me give you a quick framework. I call it FP&A success mantra. It's a simple 3-step framework. Once you take on a new FP&A role, in the very first few weeks, focus on just 3 things. That's it. 1, organization structure and where you fit into the organization structure. That will tell you how much influence you have. And then stakeholders. Who are your top 5 stakeholders who have an influence on your work? And try and understand what are their requirements and then start building relationship with them. And then industry KPIs. Every company starts tracking certain different kind of KPIs. A SaaS company might be tracking subscribers. An oil and gas company might be tracking crude oil prices, right? Understand the different kind of KPIs that the company tracks. Now, let us spend 1 minute on each of them to understand them a little bit better. In terms of organization structure, you will come across 4 structures. I'm yet to see the 5th kind of a structure, but largely you will come across 4 structures. 1, you could be in a regional structure, regional level. FP&A manager North, South, East, West. FP&A manager APAC, FP&A manager India, FP&A manager Middle East, right? You are responsible for the region's performance. Then comes strategic business unit. Okay, let's say a Johnson & Johnson as an example, right? Johnson & Johnson as a company might have different kind of business units. Baby care, beauty, eye care, pharmaceuticals, whatever, right? You are FP&A manager, baby products, right? You're responsible for the performance of the baby products division, right? That could be your role. Then global shared services centers or capability centers, very popular these days, right? Most of the American, European, Australian companies are outsourcing their work to India, Malaysia, Philippines, right? And there you are building these large capability centers. Now, there could be 2 scenarios. You could be sitting in the US as a FP&A manager and your team of analysts could be sitting in Mumbai, okay? And you're dependent on them for doing your analysis and you are acting as the business partner on the ground. Alternatively, you could be sitting in Mumbai and your stakeholder or a business stakeholder is sitting somewhere in the US, South Africa, Europe somewhere, and you're supporting the stakeholder with different kind of analysis. That is what is a global shared service or a capability center. Okay. Typically, when a global capability center or shared services was built, it was originally built with the idea of outsourcing accounting stuff. But now with the developments in cloud technology, so many FP&A tools, cloud-based FP&A collaboration tools possible, FP&A is also getting outsourced to these centers. Then you have a project-based or a client-based kind of a setup. Okay. Think about a large construction company or an interior design firm. They get such big projects. You are responsible for the project finance, project revenue, project cost, project profit. You're only responsible for taking care of that particular project. Then there could be a client-based setup. Accenture, for example, has something called as a client financial manager or client financial analyst. There, they're taking care of a set of clients, a cluster of clients, where you're responsible for the client contract, client revenue, client pricing, client profitability, right? So you're responsible only for making sure the performance on that particular client. That is also FP&A, okay? Depending on how large the company is, more specific and narrow will be your role, right? These are the 4 options, and all these 4 options will tell you how much influence you have and who are your stakeholders. If you're in a business unit kind of a setup, the business unit head will be your stakeholder. And you'll also be interacting with the corporate FP&A team or the central FP&A finance team. Yeah. Now, who are your stakeholders? You will, at regular intervals, be collecting a lot of inputs and updates from these business teams. HR, sales, business development, legal, production, supply chain, different kind of teams, right? And you'll be providing certain reports and insights to them. Like, for example, on one occasion, my CFO asked me to collaborate with HR to work out the impact of attrition. What is the monetary impact of attrition? So we developed a framework and then we started collecting all the data. We analyzed last 1 year's data, 1 year data, and then saw that attrition, to our surprise, has been beneficial for us. Okay. Wherever there was an exit, let's say a senior manager left the company, we've actually replaced them with a manager or with a person who had 10-20% cheaper salary. Okay. So when we analyze large set of roles, 200, 300 roles, we realize that attrition has actually been beneficial for us. Now, this may not happen on every occasion. And of course, there are some qualitative hidden costs that could be there. Like, for example, a new employee might take 3-6 months to get up to speed, right? Those things might be ignored, but purely from a financial standpoint, attrition was actually beneficial for us. Now, these are some of the kind of projects that you will be working on as part of your revenue teams. You could be working with pricing teams. You could be working with business development, sales, for working on certain bids or projects or whatever, right? So understand your stakeholders and try and build strong cross-functional relationships with them. Now, KPIs, in the interest of time, let me quickly cover this. Now, oil and gas, and I'll give you 3 examples, right? An oil and gas company, software and SaaS company, right? Now, every industry tracks different set of KPIs. Now, let's say oil and gas company tracks some unique KPIs like gross refining margin, which is basically your revenue minus cost of crude oil. Simple. That's a gross refining margin. And then revenue minus entire cost of production is actually gross margin. And then gross margin minus discounts are your net margin. Okay. Now, this is very peculiar to a oil and gas refining company. Software company, it's a people-based business. People are your biggest cost in a software services company. So there, you track something called as a staff cost ratio or a compensation cost rate or a compensation ratio, right? So typically, imagine if you're working in a software company like Infosys or a Wipro or a Microsoft, 40 to 50% of your revenue is actually people cost, staff cost. There you also want to analyze KPIs like revenue per headcount, compensation per headcount, and these kind of things to understand the performance of the business. Then comes your SaaS company or a software as a service, subscription-based businesses, annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, cost of customer acquisition, churn rate. All of these things are KPIs for a SaaS company. Okay. Again, depending on the company that you are applying for in your FP&A role, simply you can Google or ChatGPT the top 10 KPIs that this kind of a company would be tracking, prepare them well, and go to the interview. Okay. Now, how to build your FP&A career, right? If you're just getting started in FP&A, or if you're already working in FP&A, then what is the next step for you, right? Let me give you a quick framework. Think about building your career like building a house, building a house analogy. Yeah. Everything starts with conceptual understanding as your strong foundation. Budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, different kind of profitability analysis, variance analysis, margins, pricing, sensitivity analysis, trend analysis. All of these things are your conceptual foundations, which absolutely have no substitute. On these conceptual understanding, you'll have to work on 3 pillars. Now, what are these 3 pillars? Your soft skills, right? Your ability to talk to people, your ability to convey the story in the data, your ability to build cross-functional relationships. That are your soft skills. Then comes experience. Experience, as and when you start becoming senior, naturally you will get tied up with one or the other industry. Like my last decade or so, I spent with the advertising and marketing world. Yeah, I found my piece there, right? Imagine if I'm a CFO and I want to hire an FP&A lead. Let's say if I'm a CFO of a software services company and I want to hire an FP&A manager or a FP&A lead. What I will do, I will not go through the pain of hiring somebody from outside of the industry and then training them how software industry works. Simply, I'll look at my next 3 competitors, give one of them a 30% hike and pick them up. As simple as that. So try and build your industry specialization as well, experience as well. It will not happen initially. You don't need that in the first 10 years of your career. But after you cross about 10, 12 years of your career, start building the entire industry ecosystem as your specialization. That will really work in your favor. And then comes tools. Every company will be using some basic FP&A tools. Depending on what tool your company is using, you try and spend some time to understand that tool, either within the company or through some external sources as well. Okay. And then once you're already established in your career, then you need to continue to improve yourself. Leadership is a different skill. Okay. Becoming an FP&A analyst and leading a team of FP&A analysts is a different skill set. So start learning leadership skill sets and then be adaptable. Every 3, 4 years, 10 years, some business models change, new kind of businesses come into play. Like nobody knew about AI 5 years ago. Nobody knew about, the Flipkart, the Amazons of this world 10, 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, right? So keep understanding the new business models, the new technological developments, and keep adapting yourself in your FP&A role. So that is what I would give you as a quick framework to build your FP&A career. Okay, now that you have some understanding of FP&A, right? Do you realize how amazing it would be to learn all the high-paying FP&A skill sets? Grab those opportunities which are actually paying more than regular finance and accounting roles. So what we have done is we have spoken to hundreds of CFOs and we've identified 5 core skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance teams. Which are those 5 core skill sets? First, core FP&A concepts. Like I told you, budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, all of these are an absolute must. Financial modeling. Financial modeling specific to FP&A, not investment banking, leverage buyouts, valuations. Those are a different thing. Financial modeling specific to FP&A, revenue models, cost models, sensitivity analysis, trend analysis, scenario planning. All of these things are your part of financial modeling for FP&A. Then comes data storytelling. Okay. You are great at analysis. You can analyze 10,000 lines of Excel sheets. But how do you convert it into a story and talk to the business teams? They will not understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets. When you are a business partner, you cannot lay a bouquet of Excel sheets in front of your business teams and tell them, now you figure out what your insights are. You'll have to convert that into a strong visual, a narrative, a story, and then convey your decision to the business team or convey your options to the business teams. That is what is data storytelling. Then comes business partnering, right? Your business acumen and your ability to build strong cross-function relationships so that you can influence the finance decisions, right? We as finance professionals are great at saying no. Okay, this is not in the budget, this is not in the rule book, this is not in the accounting standard, this is not in IFRS, this is not there, this is not this. But what the business teams are looking for is a solution. So start talking in terms of options. Okay, let's say a business director comes to you saying that, okay, I want to spend on this particular thing. I need $10,000. You can say, yes, I understand. You want to spend $10,000 on this particular activity, but currently we don't have the budget for it. But here is option A, B, and C for you. You can reduce X and invest in A. You can reduce Y and invest in A, or you can reduce Z and invest in A. Which one would you like to go for? So I'm giving an option for you. I'm giving solutions for you. And then how this $10,000 can be accommodated as a strong business case. That's what I will help the business team to work on. Rather than saying, sorry, this $10,000 is not in the budget. Go and talk to the CFO, go and talk to the CEO. That's not a true business partnering. Then comes leveraging technology and AI developments that are happening in the field out there, right? Trying to learn LLMs, trying to learn tools that are, see, all these tools today may not be enterprise grade, but tomorrow all the company will have their own T-style model. They'll have their own Gemini, they'll have their own Copilot, which is linked to their internal company data. So if you're able to learn how to use these tools, that is good enough for now. Yes, you may not upload a company data into ChatGPT, but tomorrow tools like ChatGPT will be built internally by the company where only internal company data exists. There you can ask any questions, there you can ask anything, right? Learn prompting skill sets today, that is good enough. Yeah. So these are the 5 skill sets that CFOs are looking for today. So what we have done at FPI, we have focused over the last 2 years on coming up with relevant FP&A related courses and certifications. Okay. Now we have 2 options. One is if you are a beginner in FP&A, just trying to figure out your way in FP&A, then you have the FP&A Masterclass, which is a 4 weeks program. Okay, we'll talk about this in a little while. And then if you're serious about FP&A, if you want a strong FP&A certification, right? You've already, let's say, worked in audit or accounts for 5-6 years, and now you want to pivot into FP&A, then you should go for the Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, which is a 6-month exhaustive program, has capstone project, has real practical examples, has an examination at the end of it for you to get that certificate. That's a 6-month CGFPA program. Okay. Both these programs are available on our platform. Okay. You can download the brochure and check the details of it. But let's talk a little bit about FP&A Masterclass today. Okay. FP&A Masterclass is our beginner to intermediate level program. It's a live online program for 4 weeks, which has 4 essential modules: budgeting and forecasting, management reporting, storytelling and presentations, and finance business partnering, where we are covering practical examples, cases, right? Budgeting, for example, we cover B2B, B2C budgeting, revenue and cost budgeting, management reporting, different types of management report, flash report, monthly report, quarterly report, profitability analysis, variance analysis, storytelling and presentations. How do you build a story? How do you build a presentation? How do you present a profitability analysis? How do you present a budget presentation, right? Then comes your business partnering, right? Different cases and examples around collaborating with the business teams, different business partnering best practices. All of these things are covered in these 4 modules. Okay. You get a certificate. You also have lifetime access to the content, whatever we are sharing. Of course, we help you with your interview and resume preparation as well. There are additional points that are covered in there. So both Asif and me have over 25 years of experience in it. So we're trying to cover our best chapters or best experience in this particular certification course as well. Now, FP&A Masterclass, you have 2 options. It has both live and recorded options. Along with FP&A Masterclass, as a bonus, you are getting 3 things. One is our Power Resume Blueprint video, where you will understand step by step as to how you can build a meaningful FP&A resume. At the end of the day, the objective of a resume is not to get you a job. The end of the day, the objective of the resume is to get you a call. Because the first person who is going to look at your resume is not a finance person. They'll be HR, right? Then comes your interview secrets, right? Where we'll teach you step by step as to how to prepare for interviews. What are some of the things? Even if you've not worked in FP&A and you get questions around FP&A, how do you navigate those answers? All of those things are covered in interview prep secrets. And then access to mastermind calls. Mastermind calls are monthly calls that we do with external experts top global FP&A leaders, tool providers. They come to FPI for on a monthly sessions. You get access to all these monthly sessions, the recordings of all the previous monthly sessions. There are more than 20 sessions now that you get as a part of the bonus as well. Now, the FP&A Masterclass, which is a beginner to intermediate level program, I told you there are two options. One is a recorded version and then the live version. The recorded course is for $97. You have lifetime access to the recordings. And the live programs, where you also get the recording, is $247. Okay. And the class is starting on 4th of October, which is next Saturday. The live classes are starting every Saturday for 3 hours from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. Every Saturday for 4 weeks for 3 hours, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. Okay. And if you're interested in live or recording, you can enroll accordingly. If you're interested in live, then it starts on 4th of October. You can use the code early10 to avail 10% off on both recorded or live, whatever you prefer. Okay. Masterclass, will it make you an FP&A expert? I'll be honest with you, no, but at least give you a basic idea of what FP&A is, and it'll at least get you interview ready. I would even say a little bit job ready as well. Okay. If you want to become an expert in FP&A, then probably C is the right step. But at least to prepare for FP&A roles, interviews, and then get your first FP&A job, I think Masterclass will do the job for you. Okay. So that is what I had to share today. Let me quickly stop sharing a screen. I'll also share the link for the FP&A Masterclass in the chat box. And I'll also share the coupon code again called early10. Take a look at the Masterclass. And if you're interested in the live program, go ahead and enroll, and we'll be meeting on 4th of October, which is next Saturday. So thank you all for taking out a valuable time on a Sunday. All the very best for your finance careers. Do well. Hopefully, we'll meet you in one of our programs. Okay. Bye-bye. Good day.